And now it's time for RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester.
Hey, everybody. Ken Chester in the RoadWorthy Drive studio with the usual suspects here in studio with me. Jack at the controls.
Hello.
Sasha at mic 2, and yours truly. This week, I thought I was done talking about the fallout and the Uber accident, but apparently I'm not. We're going to do another show, another hour, in fact, but ironically, only part of it is going to be on the fallout over Uber. We're going to take a look at Waymo. It's interesting to note that Waymo has way more miles and have been at this longer than anybody, and they haven't had this kind of problem, and we'll talk about why. And then finally, the skeptics weigh in. We hear from the peanut gallery with respect to self-driving cars, and Jack can hardly wait for that.
Oh, yeah.
So buckle in, saddle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but you are tuned to RoadWorthy Drive Behind the Scenes, and we're so glad that you decided to join us here on YouTube Live. 11 minutes, people.
11 minutes, sir.
Let's do this thing.
Here we go.
Do you want to go faster? Yeah!
It's time for RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester. Ken is a nationally syndicated automotive journalist and photographer who's been in and around the industry for over 30 years. So tune in for your fill of automotive information and entertainment with your automotive ringmaster, Ken Chester.
Boy, that introduction makes me sound kind of old.
You know, I think that, honestly, it needs to be Jack as the ringmaster.
Oh, my goodness. No, we're not going that far.
No, but we also know he is old.
Wow, that's harsh. Welcome to RoadWorthy Drive. I am your automotive host and tour guide, no matter what they say, for the hour, Ken Chester. So glad you could join us. I'm sure by now you have heard or read about the first recorded death of a person by an autonomous car. That vehicle was operated by Uber in Arizona, and it did have a safety driver at the wheel. While we did cover this subject extensively in a previous show, it turns out there's still some information to share and some relevant topics to cover. As a result, I'm going to spend the balance of this hour of our program tying up loose ends of the Uber fallout, as well as to see how Google's self-driving subsidiary Waymo is doing, and then hear from the self-driving vehicle skeptics. There's a hater in every bunch, but we're going to give them their due. But first, if you have a burning desire to weigh in on any topic we discuss during the program, connecting with us is pretty easy. Call or text me on the RoadWorthy Drive line. That number is 872-222-9793. And it's good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If email is your preferred method of electronic communication, my email address is ken@roadworthydrive.com. Either way will connect you with the show. Before I share the news tidbits we have found from the parts bin, say hi to the rest of the peanut gallery, otherwise known as the RoadWorthy Drive crew. From the designated adult, the suits required to be at the controls, and RoadWorthy Drive's answer to an automotive vehicle shredder, my friend and show executive producer, Jack. Holding it down on mic 2 is our resident geek, tech nerd, and gamer girl. Say hi to the sweet and sassy Miss Sasha. Howdy, my peoples.
All right, I got a problem.
Do you know?
A vehicle shredder?
And why do
20 seconds.
Why do you have to bust me out about being a gamer?
Why not?
I mean, just because
Are you or aren't you?
I am.
All right, then. We keep it real here on RoadWorthy Drive. We just keep the truth.
Yes, we do, but you need to quit saying hater and vehicle shredder.
I've only said it once.
Because I've had a strong opinion about things, and there are some people who like it. There are some people who don't.
What?
Guess what?
Get over it.
Get
Wow.
over it. Ken, what is in the parts bin this week?
Again, people, there's a hater in every bunch. That's all I got.
No, there's not. What's in the parts bin? Let's go.
Okay. That recent budget bill that was passed by Congress,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
the feds are spending up to $100 million on autonomous vehicle research.
Okay.
60 million of that are grants to fund demonstration projects that test the feasibility and safety of self-driving vehicles.
Okay.
Now, when they're saying, you said testing.
The feasibility and safety of self-driving vehicles. You know, like Ubers that hit people?
Stop. No, what I'm asking is that like constructing new areas
No.
where they're going to be testing
Not
or is this for on the roads that are currently
They
available?
didn't get into all that. They
Got it.
said demonstration projects.
Yeah.
They didn't break it down. Now, another $38 million are earmarked for U.S. agencies to conduct research into self-driving cars, including, wait for it, cyber security issues.
Yeah.
See, Jack, your government's on the case and in your face.
Well, it's about darn time.
There you go. Attaboy. Finally, Congress is also setting aside up to $1.5 million to conduct, their words, a comprehensive analysis of the impact of self-driving vehicles on U.S. employment, including the potential pace of job losses among truck, taxi, and other commercial drivers, as well as the possible safety risks, and I thought this was interesting, surrounding commercial autonomous vehicles. Now, truck drivers, we've reported here about a year ago about the coming crisis in the number, falling number of available truck drivers.
Well, and my question becomes now, how in the world do you actually deal with, and I'm just going to say this, no, I am not endorsing any product when I say this.
What?
Your beer trucks,
Yeah.
your soda trucks, all those trucks that go around cities delivering all kinds of stuff to all kinds of people.
Okay.
Are we still going to have drivers for those, or are they going to try to do it autonomously with the guy sitting there, and his only job is going to be to deliver the product?
Let's make this easy for you. They're not going to mess with first mile, last mile. We talked about that briefly last week.
Like if they had like a hub just outside of town or the city.
Which they're building a lot of, by the way.
Right.
they
A
are.
lot of warehouses.
And then from there, then an actual manually driven vehicle takes them from store to store to store.
Okay.
But I do wonder, like some of the like Walmarts and stuff like that, like the bigger ones that are on the outskirts, I wonder if maybe an autonomous semi could, show up there, back it in, and then their workers take the product out.
But that's where we're going. They're talking about the long haul, monotonous situation where you're going from hub to hub.
Well,
Right.
but you also, at least in the town that we live in, I know you have a shortage of truck drivers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's nationwide.
Yeah.
No,
And
I'm
it's-
talking about within the city, not long haul. I'm talking about
Oh.
delivering in the cities.
Like
What-
local?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Well, I guess we'll find out how this technology may free up people to do just that. Because
Okay.
not everybody who wants to drive a truck, including a lot of the guys and gals over the road, want to be over the road. But
Yeah.
the money's really good.
Well, that's true.
Now,
true.
I want to close with this. Under the measure, the funding will go to automated vehicle proving grounds, local governments, or academic institutions, but not to private companies, like Waymo, Uber, Lyft. They ain't getting a dime. Just so we're clear.
Okay, and the other question that I've got is there anything in there for the talk about vehicle to infrastructure and what that's all
I
going
did
to
not
attain?
see anything like
Okay.
that, but it's coming. Let me make a case right now for electric cars.
Okay.
I really believe that the electric car industry is a lot like the car industry was.
Mhm.
When the car industry came into being, the horse and the carriage were the main ways of getting around if you weren't taking a railroad engine.
That's true.
Now, a lot of people said, it's a fad and there were no gas stations, repair shops, any infrastructure whatsoever.
Right.
So when I hear people talking about, there's no place to charge it, there's no place to do this, there's no place to do that, please.
We've been here before.
Although electric cars comprise less than 1% of U.S. auto sales today, GM, for example, is going to roll out 20 models by 2023. Toyota expects half of what they make to offer an electrified option by 2030.
Yep.
The Ford Motor Company's even formed something called Team Edison, which is a dedicated group that will work to accelerate the development of electric cars. Volkswagen's in the mix with a bunch of electrics that are coming. And BMW was one of the first ones, we reported on this about 3 years ago, that said, you know what? We're going completely electric.
Yep.
So, there's a lot of advantages right there. Let me give you just 4. No gasoline. That saves $2,000 to $4,000 a year. Environmentally friendly. No emissions. Cleaner, greener climate. No maintenance. And I've been pounding on this. Almost 150 parts to the average internal combustion engine. Electric motor, 20. And no fluids. and no belts. Yeah, work that math.
And we've covered it here on this show about the cost difference between a combustion engine ownership model and an electric engine ownership model.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Let's talk about no maintenance, no fluids, belts, spark plugs of any of the many repair possibilities of the gasoline-powered engine and transmission. Yeah, you have to go into the transmission. You're looking at hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And then finally, quiet. Less noise pollution, better quality life. I would argue that with the way we're going, and we still have stringent emission standards that are coming, fuel economy standards that are coming.
Yep.
Even if they water down the 2025 standards, you still have standards that are more stringent by 2022 than you do now. And I'll throw this out there. Do you realize they even now are talking standards for heavy trucks between 2018 and 2029?
So
I just read that.
Wow.
In the EPA's weeds, way off in the weeds. But yeah, they're setting those standards now too.
Well, what they're going to end up doing is they're going to end up pricing. Actually, what they're trying to do is get rid of the combustion engine completely.
I disagree. I think there's always going to be a place for it, but what's the cost of clean air, my friend? Think about clean air, less particulate in the air, and a better quality of life. I don't think it's necessarily that anyone's out to get the engine, but if there's better technology out there
for the regular day-to-day commuters,
especially in cities,
yeah,
then it's something to reach for. Next up, when I come back, the Uber fallout continues.
You are riding shotgun with Ken and the RoadWorthy Drive crew.
RoadWorthy Drive. Like us on Facebook.
Howdy, Jack.
Did the adult in the room have fat fingers?
Yes, the adult in the room
Can
had
we
fat
fix
fingers.
that, or where we're
Yeah.
at? That can be fixed?
No, we're just going to leave it in.
We're going to leave it in.
We're going to leave it in because I don't think I got any place I can get. Hang on, let me look at it. Hang on.
Okay. That woke me up. I'm awake now.
Good.
Scared me a little.
Yeah, y'all jumped.
Yeah. This is what happens behind the scenes. You get to
Right?
see it, the good, the bad, and occasionally the ugly. Particulate in the air and a better quality of life. I don't think it's necessarily that anyone's out to get the engine, but if there's better technology out there
For the regular day-to-day commuters,
especially in cities,
yeah,
then it's something to reach for. Next up, when I come back, yeah, right there. We can just record that end.
Hold on.
Especially in something to reach for. Next up, the Uber follow.
Right.
Hold on.
I get what you're saying. Now, I had a few questions.
Then it's something to
Okay.
reach for.
Hold on.
Next up, the Uber fallout continues. Then it's something to reach for. Next up, the Uber fallout continues.
You are riding shotgun with Ken and the RoadWorthy Drive crew.
That'll work.
There you go.
Now, your question.
Go ahead.
Jack,
Yeah.
you drove a school bus.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now, my question was, with the shortage of city, like in-town truck drivers.
Well, you
delivery
also have a
drivers.
shortage of school bus drivers. Too.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And there's that is a whole subject that's going to take way too much time to get into. But the shortage is multifaceted.
Yeah.
Well-
that shortage has got different things. Part of it because of the split shift you have to work.
Part of
And
it,
the money.
part of it is the shift. Part of it is the money. Part of it is that you are required by federal law that if the designated supervisor at the school comes and gets you and tells you you have 30 minutes to be at Dr. X's to take a urine test for a drug test.
right.
You have 30 minutes to get there. If you're 31 minutes late, you lose your license for 6 months.
Now, here is my thing. For the delivery trucks,
Right.
do you think the actual driving of said delivery truck is the biggest deterrent? Now, here's why I know with like long haul, a lot of the times, especially if they're a family man or woman, they don't want to be away from home that long.
Right.
Okay. But if you're talking something local, like let's just say I want to be like the distributor for like Pepsi products or something like that, soft
Okay,
drink.
you have the Pepsi distributorship, and the driver is actually, if I am correct, and I may be wrong here,
Mm-hmm.
is also, I think, the salesman. They have a two-faceted role.
Okay. Okay.
They're the one that are delivering the product, but they're also the one that also, at times, is the one that's also doing product placement too.
Right. And they're doing the new signage and stuff like
Correct.
that.
Yeah, but
Right.
the bigger problem for that is just the sheer weight of fooling with that stuff. I've seen these folks wrestle this stuff.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
small stores, bodegas, small convenience stores.
Yep.
And you've got a dolly. Not too bad in the summertime.
No.
Try doing that foolishness in wintertime, freezing rain.
Ice, snow.
Yeah, and you still
Well,
gonna wrestle
and
hundreds of pounds.
And here's the other problem
Yeah, that'll
that I
beat you
see,
up.
Okay.
and I'm just going to say a convenience store.
All right.
That way, I don't get in trouble for saying somebody's certain name.
Okay.
Ooh.
When those guys lose gas,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a roommate that I used to have who worked for one of the major convenience stores that are in this town and all over the Midwest and the South. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Their whole business model was gas retailer first,
Yep.
and then everything else in the store second.
Yep.
When you start losing the gas, and they have to go to a different kind of model, as in those people are going to be there for however long this is, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever that time is, to try to get a charge back so they can continue where they're going.
Right.
Okay. Right now, it takes you probably 10 to 15 minutes in a gas station,
Okay.
and I'm maybe a little long there.
Uh-huh.
When they have to have 30 minutes to do something, and you're starting to see this in most of the convenience stores around here, especially the big ones, where they now have a kitchen.
Yeah.
Before too much longer, they're going to have seating capacity like a fast food joint. Because once you take that gas out of there, and they're going to be there longer, they're going to want to sit down and maybe have a drink, maybe get something to eat, that kind of stuff.
But here's the problem with that. Right now, they're developing fast chargers that can give you 80% of the charge in 10 to 15 minutes. So they're getting it down near about where it would take to gas it up.
Okay, now that
Number
point I
one.
didn't know.
Number two,
Yep.
also remember, you don't need to pull into a convenience store to recharge. You've got other places that are standalone. Tesla was looking at going in a partnership with some different outfits like restaurants
Yeah.
for stuff like that, for like Tesla centers.
Right. And Tesla's
so-
actually opening up a restaurant
Yeah,
for
in California
in
somewhere.
California.
Okay,
So
But
the issue is the model is more at risk. It's not just a matter of replacing charging stations with pumps. It's the whole theory of why people go to a convenience store, and that gasoline might be number one, but it's typically the loss leader for them because the markup on everything else in the store is so much higher.
no, and that is true.
They make the money not on the gasoline,
No,
actually.
no.
Gasoline's what draws you because right now, if you have an internal combustion engine,
You need gas.
you need gas at some point. And while you're convenient, while I'm there, I want a pop, I want a piece of pizza. I mean,
I want
one
a
of the
candy
one of
bar.
the large convenience stores here is what, number 3, number 4 in the country on pizza?
Sure.
Number one.
Now, my question though.
Now, whoever would have thought that you'd actually go to a convenience store to get
A
pizza?
lot of people around here
I
do
know.
that.
Yep.
I know. I do.
Takeout, it's crazy.
But I
Now-
will tell you something that is probably some of the best pizza I've ever had.
Yep. Right there. Now,
Hands down.
my question was
Mm.
originally
Okay.
with an autonomous delivery truck, one that drove itself.
Okay.
Do you think that it would make the delivery job more appealing to people if,
No.
since it's a dual job,
I don't know.
if they didn't have to worry about driving the vehicle, if all they had to do or worry about is to, once they arrive there, they're putting the product in, they're
If you
selling.
If you look at a Pepsi truck, a Coke truck,
Right.
a beer truck,
Mm-hmm.
okay, all of those are basically semi-tractors and trailers.
Yep.
Okay. I think I'm going to agree with Ken on this. That's twice in 2 weeks. We got to stop this. I
Could
think-
be
I
that's
think-
actually right.
Stop.
I think what you have to look at is I think it's going. I don't know that it's going to help it. I don't know that it's going to hurt it. But I still think, and I honestly believe this, if you're going to have somebody sitting there while the truck is taking you from one convenience store to the next, or the next grocery store,
Right.
or anything like that,
Right.
my guess is the company's going to try to have them doing something while they're there, while they're in transit.
I'm going to go you further.
Okay.
I think you're 20 to 30 years of seeing last mile. I go to any city and watch delivery trucks try to do what they do. There is no way right now, at least for the next 20 or 30 years, that the best autonomous systems can deal with all of that.
Oh, I have a comment to add to that.
Okay.
There is a certain delivery company that I will not name,
Thank you.
but they have a certain they have a time frame that they allot for their delivery drivers to make deliveries, which causes these drivers to drive in a very reckless and wild abandoned behavior. The minute that their cars actually go autonomous, they're going to have to completely recalibrate their allotment for time.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. In an autonomous
Talking
world,
to the mic, bud.
and in a fully autonomous world, if autonomous vehicles represent the majority of the vehicles on the highway, it's going to be more efficient anyway. Right now, you've got drivers competing against human drivers and all the crazy stuff that we do on purpose, inadvertently, absent-mindedly, not paying attention, a million different variables.
Plus the fact, you're kidding me.
No, I wasn't sure. It's up to Ken whether he actually wants to bring it up, but yeah.
Are you dead serious?
I'm dead serious.
I need to see this.
Wow.
I brought up Atlanta.
We're going to talk about that.
Are we?
Okay, good.
We are totally.
Okay, but again, the other issue that nobody's talked about, and then we'll get going with second segment here, is I want to see how they actually program these vehicles to deal with inclement weather.
See, and that's my thing.
I got something for that, too.
I know.
MIT.
Is he psychic?
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't
When it comes
feed
to
his
this
ego
stuff,
like that. Don't feed his ego like that.
Since we're here,
No.
hold on. I got this.
Now, here's the other thing. I had to laugh about this one, Jack. They made this big to-do about it. They shipped these autonomous vehicles, self-driving electric vehicles to, was it Norway?
Norway.
Okay.
And
in
they
the
went
dead of
went
winter.
through the winter.
No. They went one day in a Norwegian winter. One day. And I'm like, that doesn't tell me anything.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, give it to somebody or give it to
For a
a
season.
professional. Yeah, for a season.
And
Not even a professional. Just give it to an
Yeah.
everyday person for a season.
And what I want to see and what I'm interested in that I'm waiting on is this little bus test in Minnesota or Indiana where it
Yes.
was.
That
and
already
then
happened.
who was the other one that they did it for this winter? Like this
Yeah,
winter.
that's up. He's talking about the Minnesota one.
Is that the Minnesota?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Okay,
it was just
come
us.
back full around, and then we'll get to second segment to answer your question from MIT News. Within the last 2 weeks, fog penetrating imaging system holds promise for self-driving cars.
Fog penetrating.
Well, I want to see what this little
what
this little car does that is autonomous when the big F5 shows up.
When the what?
When the big F5 shows up, the tornado.
Right.
Yeah, well, like any little car, that don't matter. It's like, bye.
Oh, God.
Yeah, think Twister movie.
Right. We got cows.
No, that's the same cow. MIT News,
There goes my truck.
but they have developed a system that can produce images of objects shrouded by fog so thick that human vision can't penetrate it. It can also gauge the object's distance. If they can do it for fog, they can do it for snow.
Can it?
Yes.
Fog is technically a particle.
Yeah,
And
it's
so-
a moisture particle like snow, which is moisture surrounded by a piece of dust.
Okay, but here's my thing. Fog is technically dust that is moisture particles.
No.
Whereas snow is actually a lot bigger. It's like asking us
You're
to see through
missing the
hail.
point. I don't want to get into the weeds, but trust me, they're all the way into the weeds, and they got this.
Okay.
That without getting into the whole thing, MIT people, MIT, okay? We're not talking community college here, and when I'm not slamming community college.
I was about to say, what was that?
No, let it go. MIT, they got this. That's all I'm saying. So let me get this together, and then we'll get in the second section.
I'm thinking that you and I, Sasha, again, need to do a show without him.
I would love that idea. I think we had a lot of fun the last time.
We had a lot of fun. Plus, we got things done quicker.
Wow. I doubt that. But, you know, if you guys really want to, that would be my birthday present. You can do the 22nd.
There we go. We can do April 22nd.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, because you also be on the tap for the short formats, too.
I don't care. I can write something.
No, you can write the short formats and email them to us.
Yes, you can write that while you're on vacation again.
That's not happening, and that ain't vacation.
I
wish
know.
it was.
No, that is
But-
not vacation.
Yeah, it's not.
Hold on. You can write
Sure.
the short formats, and then we can read them.
Aw, that's special. Okay, 9 minutes?
9 minutes, and I believe Mr. Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me double check real fast to make sure that I got that where I said that I had. Yes, I do.
Okay,
We're good.
let's bounce.
All right, here we go.
I'm tough and I'm tested. That's why by Ford, I was requested to come up here to tell you how Motorcraft auto parts from Ford were tested tough in Alaska. Motorcraft tune-up kits with spark plugs were tested in 50 cars and trucks from Ford, GM, and Chrysler. After 6 months, only one spark plug couldn't take it. One! Motorcraft tune-up kits, they have the stuff. Motorcraft parts are tested tough.
If you're just tuning in, this is RoadWorthy Drive.
That
I'm
was
Ken
on the
Chester.
cut there. I know
It was. It was.
Did he do a hog snort at the
I'm
end?
not sure what that
I don't know
was.
what it was.
No idea. This hour, I find myself having to tie together loose ends, if you will, with respect to the first recorded death of a person due to being hit by an autonomous Uber with a safety driver at the controls. Now, first of all, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. Honestly, other than a few situations where the vehicle fails to operate or navigate around something, or really speeds less than 15 miles an hour, I fail to see the benefit of a safety driver.
Yeah.
Makes
Well,
no
but
sense to
the
me.
safety driver has to be there.
Yeah, for what? At 40 miles an hour, if the system fails, that you can move in
Well-
nanoseconds to do something?
Well, but we also know part of the reason why that young woman got killed was the fact that they turned off that feature that
Well,
was on the car.
no. It's actually a little more involved than that. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Okay? It's actually deeper than that. But to back up, if the system fails at speed, ain't no way a human, even if your hands are hovering over the steering wheel like their procedures require you to, and you're dialed into what's going on, even though the trip typically is pretty monotonous, but let's just say you're all dialed in. Boom, it happens. It's already too late.
Okay.
There is absolutely, positively, if the system failed to recognize it, you just did. There's no, you didn't have time to swerve because you had a process. Wait a minute, there's boom,
Okay.
and there you are.
Just let me know when you're getting to the point.
Oh,
about,
I'm
about
I'm
the
about to
feature.
dig right into that right now.
Okay,
Let's
good.
start with the obvious. Arizona governor has suspended Uber's ability to test self-driving cars on public roads. Yeah, he started that mess by executive edict, and he stopped it too. Now, they also argue that Arizona as a state is not pedestrian friendly anyway. They said in the same week in the state of Arizona, 9 other pedestrians were killed by vehicles in general. The same week.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Now, why would a state not be pedestrian friendly?
Have you been to Arizona?
Not in a very long time. Sir.
Lighting, lack of sidewalks, particularly when you get out of town. Just a lot of different things that it is really you need to beware.
Well, and the other thing that nobody's really saying, she decided to cross a dark street at night illegally.
However,
I mean, and she saw that car long before that car could have seen her.
You're assuming she did.
Okay.
With the headlights.
You're
Not
assuming,
necessarily.
You're assuming she did. B, the other thing is, at least in this state, as I understand it, you can hit somebody outside of a crosswalk. They can be jaywalking. It doesn't matter what they're doing. You hit them, it's your butt.
It is called failure to have control.
Yep.
So it works the same way like if you rear-ended somebody.
Yep.
Because in our state,
failure
it
to
doesn't matter.
have control.
Yep.
Let me throw this out, and this is where you're going, Jack.
Okay.
Also on Monday, the auto parts maker that supplied the radar and the camera on the Volvo SUV that struck and killed a woman last week said Uber had disabled the standard collision avoidance technology in the vehicle.
Why?
Wow.
Now I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Okay? Because it is standard practice to disable other tech as it develops tests on its own autonomous driving system. Now, the Uber crash pointed to apparent failures in the Uber sensor system, which failed to slow or stop the car as she crossed the street with a bicycle. And again, people, I say, no national standards. We don't know how those Uber sensors compare to Waymos, GMs, Teslas, Hondas, Toyotas, Nissans. We don't know because there are no standards. We don't know if they were inferior. We don't know if they were superior. We don't know if it was a failure. We don't know if it was a shortcoming. We don't know.
Yep.
The other thing, in Arizona, you're not required, unlike California, to report every time that a driver is required to take control of an autonomous vehicle during a test. In California, that's required, and you need to tell them why. Uber had been fighting with California, and it just got in the license, and the issue with them is because of their licensing was such a short period, they weren't required to report because the reporting period for them was so short.
Okay.
Now, they were supposed to renew. They also suspended their renewal in California.
So am I to assume at this point that Uber is probably going to be done with autonomous vehicles?
I would say, based on the person who's running Uber right now, who is questioning why we should be in this in the first place, it would not surprise me. When you're looking at spending money and the billions of dollars you would have to spend for a proprietary system, my question is very simple. Why? 300 companies, we've reported it here, 300 companies are involved in the various aspects of autonomous driving, from infrastructure and cybersecurity to hardware and software and sensors and radar and LiDAR and all of this stuff. Why do I need to reinvent the wheel? It doesn't work. It makes better sense for me to monitor who's developing stuff and buy the best thing I can integrate where someone else has already spent the money.
Okay, but would you also buy this argument that the fact that maybe why Uber did this is Uber wanted to be the one that had the technology so that everybody was buying from them?
No. There's 300 companies out there, Jack. Everybody's doing this.
Yep.
They don't have a lock. And in fact, Waymo's doing better than they are and have been at it for longer.
That's true.
We talked about BlackBerry, who's taken their software. They want to become part of the infrastructure security, cybersecurity system. A lot of companies are involved with this. Uber was doing it because it was Uber.
Okay.
Okay? They weren't doing it to get some advantage. They were doing it because of Uber. But that's not all the Uber news I've got. Their suppliers are backing up. Intense focus on the accident also prompted Uber suppliers to evaluate its technology. And one of them is NVIDIA and NVIDIA, a supplier of semiconductors. They're a major supplier in the space.
Mm-hmm.
They were concerned. They suspended their tests. So they're feeling the heat. But right now, Uber suspended everything everywhere with their autonomous testing. And a couple more things. They just got out of Southeast Asia. They just sold their holdings in Southeast Asia as an aside. They're retrenching, my friend. So that's what's going on with Uber right now. My money is they get out and buy it from someone else. Don't know what that means to the Volvo order of 20,000, 24,000 cars they got, but we'll see. So, coming up, what's Waymo doing?
This is RoadWorthy Drive.
You're tuned in to RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester.
The other thing is that, did you get the story about how Uber's dropping their rush delivery service? I think it was like Uber X or Uber.
They've got Uber Eats, Uber Elevate.
No.
Don't get confused. Uber's still got a lot going on.
Yeah, but they dropped their.
They're looking at, okay, we need to get back to what we do well. We're spread all over the place. Is this a place with all these competitors in the market that makes sense for us to be here too?
Well, and the problem is, are they spread too thin?
That's a good point.
They just resolved their lawsuit with Waymo.
Yep.
It would make sense to partner with somebody rather than develop the technology on their own.
Yep.
We just had an off-screen conversation about closed tech in the case of Apple. That back in the day, that worked. Today, not so much.
No, it doesn't work
And
at
even
all.
Apple figured that out with opening up the iTunes store to third-party applications that meet their requirements. It used to be all Apple or nothing. And this was almost 10 years ago because I was building apps back then. And 3 weeks after I spent all that money,
they changed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Hey, Apple, thank you so very much.
Right? We
That
love
was
that.
wonderful. I could have saved thousands of dollars and had it working on Android too."
You know what? I'm not going to say anything about choosing the fruit, but
We know you have no love for the fruit.
I don't. No.
We understand that.
And if you want to understand where I'm coming from when it comes to the fruit, you need to watch the movie The Circle.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, 9 minutes, people.
9
9
minutes.
minutes again.
Let's party.
All right, here we go.
This is the second part of this hour of RoadWorthy Drive. Thank you for dropping by. I'm Ken Chester. For those of you that need more than your fair share of the road, be sure to drop by the show website. Can't talk. Show website. Problems. No, I haven't been drinking. I don't drink. Yeah.
What?
No. RoadWorthyDrive.com. Discover audio clips of prior shows. Watch audio clips of our behind-the-scenes antics each week in studio. Yeah, you want some comedy there, let me tell you.
Yes.
As we produce the show and so much more, including when we disagree. If you think on radio is something, yeah, you need to see the behind-the-scenes stuff.
And it's a fun time.
It
Fun
is.
times are had.
I'm waiting for green slime.
Oh, my goodness. Sasha is our resident geek and social media diva who shares all sorts of fun and interesting automotive tech news across the universe of social media. Be sure to check to see what she is posting between shows on Facebook and Twitter. You'll be glad you did.
You know, you might also want to add Vero to that.
Okay, I don't know what that is. Tell them.
It is actually the new social media. They are coming in right now, and I think you could still join for free while they're doing their promotional upstart. But it's basically like Facebook used to be.
Okay, so how do they get there?
You can go on your Google Play or Apple Store and type in Vero, that is VERO, to get your account. It is not available on your desktop computer. It is strictly a mobile app.
Hence, our resident social media geek people.
Yes.
Sasha, everybody.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Waymo.
Wasn't Waymo a record company in the 70s?
No, that's Whammo and K-Tel. and Whammo is totally something different.
Now, see, I was thinking the toy company.
It was a toy company.
Okay.
You're thinking K-Tel, but that's okay. I understand this. If you don't recognize the name, and obviously Jack does not, let me help you. It is the autonomous vehicle unit of Alphabet, in case you don't understand that. That's the parent of Google.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, Google. Just say Google. You'll be fine. They actually have been in the autonomous development space the longest, longer than anybody. They started out back around 2011, and I think it might have even been more like 2009. But I think 2011 before they actually had a vehicle on the road. You know, back in the olden days?
No,
Sasha?
that's not old.
The olden days, yes.
It is in computers.
Yeah, back in the olden days when you were operating with like Windows.
Wasn't that 3.1?
Right.
Or right before the big
No, no,
revolutionary
no.
thing, Windows 95.
It wasn't that far back, people. Move on.
Oh, wow. Back when I said I don't do Windows and I don't like Mies. Now I do Windows and I have a mouse.
Right.
And I like my mouse.
Yes.
Anyway, when they started, they began with a modified Lexus crossover and even developed their own car. They called it Firefly. They did. A little cutesy thing
I remember pictures.
for evaluation purposes. It's actually in a museum now.
Did they really? Did this explode?
Yeah, Firefly is in a museum.
Did they put it in a?
It's retired.
Which museum got a hold
You
of that?
had to ask me that. I don't remember.
I will look
but
it
it's,
up.
It's in a museum.
Using Google. Actually.
What? Okay. With all the noise you've been hearing lately about Uber, Lyft, and Tesla, I thought I would bring you up to date on what Waymo's been doing quietly as of late. And what I've learned will surprise you. Let's start with the obvious, because I like to be, Mr. Obvious. Yeah. Waymo, back in February, obtained a permit from Arizona to operate as a transportation network company, kind of like Uber, meaning it can start charging fees to ferry customers around the region.
Okay.
According to industry watchers, the two leading companies, and we keep saying there are like 300 companies out there, Waymo, and wait for it, General Motors. As required by state law, and they're talking California now, automakers must disclose the number of miles driven and the frequency in which human drivers were forced to take control. For last year, Waymo logged in California 353,000 autonomous miles last year, with what they call 63 disengagements. GM Cruise, 132,000 miles and 105 disengagements, but they said even that is a 1,400% improvement. Now, Waymo's mileage is down, and I'll tell you why that is. But in 2016, on public streets, 635,868 miles. Waymo's moved most of their fleet since then to Phoenix in advance of the launch of their commercial ride-hailing service, the Chrysler Pacificas, that we've talked about often.
Correct.
So they're going there. Now, Waymo has driven more miles than any other company by order of magnitude in over 24 U.S. cities, and the company doesn't seem to see these reports as indicative of its overall testing program anymore. They've made that kind of progress. So, continuing on. No other company came close. Just to give you an example, a company called Drive.ai, 6,100 miles. Nissan, 5,000 miles. A company called Zoox, 2,200 miles. Bosch, they're the German supplier,
Right.
2,052 miles. Another company, Aptiv, and Aptiv supplies some of the sensors to the Uber vehicle, 1,800 miles, and so on. And in the last year, even though they have permits to do it, Ford, BMW, Honda, and Volkswagen haven't done any miles on public California streets. They're still testing either in testing facilities or off-road in their own little world. They're not on the roads of California
Now,
as of yet.
the only time that they have to log or tell California they had to disengage was actually on public streets.
That's exactly right.
Not in test tracks,
No.
not in facilities. Okay.
Now, hold on to your seat. Waymo will launch a self-driving truck pilot program in Atlanta. That was reported last month. The reason why that means a little something is in our next show, we're going to talk about problems Atlanta City is having. And I'm not going to spill the beans, but it's pretty serious, and it makes you wonder about this, particularly when we talk about vehicle-to-infrastructure stuff.
Right.
Yeah, cause for pause. Waymo tested the trucks in California and Arizona last year. Now, they're planning this self-driving truck pilot to carry cargo for Google's data centers in Atlanta. And let's see, when they're trying to do this, now they're going to have, their words, highly trained drivers in the cabs to monitor systems and take control if needed. And again, I say, if it's above like crawling, why? And you're looking at tens of tons?
Yeah.
Yeah. At 40 miles an hour, no. Ain't too much a trucker going to be able to do if this thing malfunctions.
Yep. Even if they're paying full attention.
Yep. So they're looking at this as a multi-billion-dollar opportunity to remake urban transportation systems. I guess we will see on what's going on that. As they expect, and we talked about this, long-distance trucking will benefit from autonomous trucks in the coming years. So we'll see how Waymo does with that. And I'll save the rest of this for another time, but they're going to hook up with Jaguar.
Oh.
Finally, the self-driving skeptics weigh in.
RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester is heard exclusively on the RoadWorthy Drive radio network.
RoadWorthy Drive is a cornerstone of the RoadWorthy Drive radio network.
I'm going to save this for the top of the last segment because Waymo is bringing the self-driving tech to another car company. I'm not going to tell you.
Why
It-
did we
it's
allow
so-
him,
it is so
Sasha, to
cool.
Do that.
It is so cool.
As the executive producer and the one who has the power in this relationship, at least in this room,
Thank you. I'm glad he got honest about that because I think his wife would have something else to say about having the power.
Right?
Yeah. I will save this last.
I
little
need
bit.
I need to find that Steve Harvey clip.
Which one?
You can say that you're the man of the house, but that's just a title.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
Let's see.
Okay, sir, I'm ready to go.
Are you though?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
So I guess my question, Ken, is if Waymo's got all this technology and they're literally out in front of everybody,
Mm-hmm.
at what point does everybody just go, okay, we got to do something different?
But everybody is doing something different.
Yep. I mean, for the most
Waymo's
part,
out front, but they don't have a lock on. They have an approach. They have they
Okay.
have a methodology. Just like different companies build and engineer different internal combustion engines, they don't all build them the same, and they don't all perform the same
No, that's
by
true.
design.
That's true.
This is the same thing. Different companies are taking a different approach, using a different array of sensors and radar and LiDAR and all sorts of things. Some are tweaking it. Some are using different vehicles that have different capabilities.
Sasha,
It'll be different.
oh yes.
thank you.
So we will see.
Barwich, go get me water.
I was being nice about it. Jeez.
I know, right? Some people. So where's my page 4? First I went, did you take that?
All I've got to say is, Halloween is coming this year. I will dress in a Barwich outfit.
I was put in for the geisha.
Yeah, that would have been fun. I
You
didn't
would've
have
what?
everything. A geisha.
Oh,
I dress up for Halloween. Last year, I was not able to do it. This year, however, completely different story.
Ken, we have to make sure we have a trench coat here in case we need it.
Sometimes it's not profitable for me to respond. This is one of those times.
That almost seems like it needs to have like Twilight Zone background music to that whole thing.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
this is one of those times.
Mm. Okay, people. 8
You're-
minutes, 50 seconds.
8
Sasha,
minute-
you ready?
8:50.
I'm not. Hold on.
We need to wait for the lady in the room.
Okay, so I need you to okay with this.
How's the sound quality? Oh, that's sharp. Yeah, I'm good.
You good with that?
I'm good.
Okay.
So that way they can find us on
Mm-hmm.
Vioto.
Mm-hmm.
And then I posted it on. But the problem is that we have to tether it to a social media, so it's tethered to mine.
Okay, ready?
All right.
8 minutes, 50 seconds, people.
I'm
8
ready.
minutes, 50 seconds, peoples. Hold on, wait. No, we're not ready. Mine shut off. Hold on. Sorry.
I got nothing, Jack.
Do you not?
I'm about to suggest an investment in a box clock that's about that big between the two of you that you set one, hit it when you go, and it literally counts.
I like that idea. I will look it up.
I don't know. I'm doing fine. I got my little
Stop.
clock right
We
here.
know that.
Yeah, we know. Mr. Man always has the answers.
That's why I'm the talent.
That's why it pays for me not to say a word.
There you go. Smart man.
All right, I'm ready. I'm
Here
sorry.
we go.
This is the last part of this hour of Roadworthy Drive. Thank you so much for dropping in. I'm your host, Ken Chester. Now, we were talking about Waymo in the last segment, and I want to finish up because I saved the best for last on that before we hear from the skeptics and the peanut gallery, of course. Yeah. Waymo is bringing their self-driving tech to a major automaker,
Who is that?
Jaguar.
Really?
They've announced the first premium fully self-driving car. They're going to use Waymo technology with the brand new Jaguar I-Pace, which is their electric, small, compact luxury SUV.
Mm-hmm.
It's Waymo's first obvious step towards bringing autonomous vehicles to Europe, and Waymo's actually buying 20,000 of them.
Oh.
The deal's worth about $1 billion. The all-electric I-Pace will test this year before being deployed in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. This is the sixth model in Waymo's lineup, including a small car, an SUV, the Firefly prototype we talked about, a minivan, Chrysler Pacifica, and the semi-truck for operations. Their goal, we want to build a self-driving car for every passenger and every trip. This is Waymo talking. He also mentioned that particular I-Pace has a bigger battery, allowing the car to drive all day. So they want to get that fleet out. Well, GM was talking, and this is ironic because this news broke a week after the Uber accident.
Oh.
And GM's Cruise fleet is supposed to launch, with Uber working to get their fleet out by mid-2019. My response to Uber, I doubt it.
Now, yes.
So I'll leave that. But I wanted to share that little bit. I thought it was pretty cool. And we'll see. For the record, the I-Pace is going to use a 90 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery that delivers up to 240 miles of range, rapid public charging, 0 to 80% in 40 minutes, with 15-minute charges giving up to roughly 60-mile range.
Okay.
So there's that.
Okay.
Now, America's skeptical of self-driving cars in a new global study. Political differences hint at impending car culture clash. Here you go, Jack. Nearly 1 in 4 Americans, and I quote, would never use an autonomous vehicle.
And I think that number probably has gone up since the Uber accident.
Those in China, by contrast, twice as likely to say they cannot wait.
I'm right there.
Even the Canadians are a little skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
Moreover, more would continue to prefer owning their own vehicle. That's 42%. As opposed to hiring one on a per-use basis, 22%. And I'm sorry, Sasha, or leasing one for monthly subscription fee, only 14%.
They'll come around.
So
They'll come around.
is Canvas a bust?
No. Canvas is the future
Canvas
of mobility.
a bust?
No. Once they actually expand out and they get more people actually buying into the idea, the price is going to drop and it's going to be a direct threat to leasing and payment options.
We'll see. We'll see if Ford and their experiment called Canvas, currently out in California, gets any traction, literally. Now, they said cost is a factor. 24% of this survey said they would switch to a self-driving car if it costs the same as the current car. But get this, 45% would switch if it cost, their words, much less.
But it does cost much less.
I'm just saying.
I mean, that's like factual.
Well, but again, part of where my skepticism
Mm-hmm.
is the fact of I have not publicly seen, but then again, I really haven't looked, so I'll own that part of it.
Okay.
What in the world does this stuff do in the wintertime?
Well, we're seeing Teslas here in Iowa in the wintertime.
But what he's talking about is the fully autonomous methodology as opposed to electric
Oh.
technology.
Correct.
See?
I mean, I think what Ken just said, my concern is the electric part of it.
Yes.
My concern of it is the autonomous part of it.
Right.
On the electric part, there are Tesla Model S's in our city right now. I have never seen one on the side of the road, even in the winter.
True. Well, and I've seen them driving in the winter. Like
Yeah.
there was snow and
I'm
rain.
not getting all bent out of shape. Now the autonomous piece, yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean that and occasional, deer, moose.
Well, yeah. I want to see
Coyote.
I want to see what happens when Bambi or Moose and Squirrel walk out in front of the car.
Exactly.
It won't be Rocky and Bullwinkle, I'll tell you that.
But here's my thing. I mean, that it brings that into when you, even here in this city, you guys still get deer, coming off of the interstate. And
I have followed deer down a city street.
Go that way,
Okay.
South.
about less than a mile.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have Waterworks Park.
Right.
And in that park is a whole bunch of deer. The other night when I left work here,
Okay.
I had to go around the old Tech High School.
Right. Right.
And as I'm making that curve to get on to one of the main north-south streets, sitting right there underneath the bridge that's got the traffic above me, sat 3 deer and a buck.
Yeah.
Sound like a party to me.
Right.
Well,
Just saying.
but again, I don't need 3 of them stepping out. I've only made 3 payments on my truck for crying out loud.
Yeah, I know that's
Well, and see,
that's messed
that
up,
right
ain't
there,
it?
Jack. That right there is exactly where people are going to get to because you've only made 3 payments, and all it takes is drunk driver, Bambi, Moose to come out there and.
Oh, by the way, about the drunk driver, we followed one last night who pulled right out in front of me.
Let me throw this at you. Perhaps the reluctance of Americans to embrace this emerging technology has to do with its strong identity as a car culture. Check this out. Nearly 6 in 10 people consider themselves car people. My people. My people.
Yeah.
I knew my people.
No.
They my people.
If they're car people, though, are they on pedal?
I got nothing for that.
Do they not have nothing
No, I
for
got
that?
nothing for that. 81% feel that the car they own, the car they drive, reflects their personality.
Yep.
Well, not only that too, but if you go look at any
Blue Prius?
Barrett Jackson auction through the years, you got thousands upon thousands of people that go to these things every year.
I got one question.
What's
It's killing me. What does your truck say about you, Jack?
Let me think about that.
I love that.
I couldn't resist. I had to throw that out there.
Yeah, and he talks about it. And he talks about
No.
haters.
You're not allowed to ask me that. No.
Many Americans, 30%, would take actually more road trips in self-driving cars, including longer trips and new destinations. Imagine that. Autonomous parking is a thing, too. So that's it as we come to the other end of an hour of RoadWorthy Drive. On behalf of the RoadWorthy Drive crew, thanks for listening.
This has been RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester.
RoadWorthy Drive with Ken Chester is a copyrighted presentation of the RoadWorthy Drive Radio Network. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or any other use is prohibited without the written consent of the Motor News Media Corporation.
All right. First of all, to those of you that are watching on YouTube Live, I am not responsible for what you just saw. That was strictly on the two of them. I'm the adult in the room, and I can't do anything about it. Go on.
Yeah. Got nothing.
We had so much fun, though.
Yeah, we do.
So much fun.
All I'm going to say is this. I'm one of these car people. I love to drive.
I do too.
The
I do
irony of the situation is by the time that autonomous vehicles, they get the problems ironed out and that it becomes a thing,
Right.
on an increasing thing on our roads, I'll be to the age where I will benefit from this. So
And I can see that. Yeah.
the irony of it is that, yeah, I may love to drive, but reality says that at some future point, I'm going to lose my ability to drive because of physical degradation of physical awareness, eyesight, hand-foot reflex, things like that.
Now, and I'm going to say this as a mother that would be traveling with 4 children. I would feel much, much safer driving in a self-driving, autonomous atmosphere as opposed to actually driving the vehicle, let's just say 10 hours to go to a vacation destination.
Which something you probably wouldn't do anyway.
I would actually if I had like a self-driving vehicle and if I knew that, let's say, 40-50% of the vehicles that I was going to come in contact with were also self-driving.
Okay.
Which I know that I'm years away from.
Parting question. Who do you trust to regulate this industry? Do you trust the automakers to self-regulate?
No.
Do you trust the government to regulate?
No.
Then how do you propose this comes into play?
I think it all has to go back to NHTSA.
NHTSA.
That's the government people.
No, it's
kind of
different.
is.
No.
Well,
the
their
National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is a part of the United States Department of Transportation. Dear.
Yeah, but here's
that's the government.
Here's my thing. I think that it needs to be regulated by someone that is not going to give in to extreme lobbyist behavior. Because once we actually decide that we're going to force our lawmakers to go down the road of, we need to have some kind of regulation for the radars and for the detection models that are out there on the actual road.
Here's the problem. A government agency gets their charter from Congress. They can only go so far in rulemaking according to the laws and regulations which they are given power by Congress to enforce. Congress still makes the law. The agencies take that law and turn it into rules and interpretations and things like that.
And as we have talked here before, we are in a situation where the technology is ahead of the laws and are way ahead of the rulemaking.
Yep.
We are at a point where I can sit here off the top of my head and identify at least 10 different areas that are going to require congressional action. Now, I'll leave you with this. NHTSA, in their first report back in 2016, and they've issued one more since then, but in 2016, they not only gave guidelines for the autonomous industry, but also spent a lot of time identifying where the limits of their charter and legal authority were and what they would need from Congress in order to do what they felt was necessary to properly regulate, rule make, and oversee the industry.
Okay.
So bottom line, I am not in favor of self-regulation. That's for sure. The industry, pick one, has proven if left to their own devices, they don't get you there. And unfortunately, because of the way that they're structured, they're for-profit companies. They don't want to spend money if they don't have to. Government regulation is going to cause them to spend money. I'm saying even playing field, everybody's got to do it, then that's different. So I leave you with this. I would like to see NHTSA get their additional authority. from what I've read, they are thoughtful and are doing the best they can as far as they can, but they've got limitations. And they're coming up against those limitations and what they can do to make this work right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, requires Congress. And I close with that. On behalf of the RoadWorthy Drive crew and our many conversations, be sure to tune in next time. Next hour, we're going to talk about the city of Atlanta and ransomware and why it should matter to you. Because where we're going autonomously, this could have some grave impact about all of our safety, whether or not you ever set foot in Atlanta. On behalf of Jack, Sasha, and myself, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.